Today on Rappler. Two Filipinos freed by the Abu Sayyaf say they don't know if ransom was paid. The World Bank says the Philippines needs to create 14 million jobs until 2016. And machine and manual counts don't match in the Commission on Elections mock polls. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Two Filipinos freed by the Abu Sayyaf face media for the first time since they were released Saturday night in Sulu. Ramilito Vela and Rolando Letreto are now in Camp Crame, the headquarters of the Philippine National Police. The two were released by the Abu Sayyaf in Paticul, Jolo. In a press conference Monday, the two faced media to talk about their release. They say the Abu Sayyaf gave them horses to ride down the mountains into the capital, Jolo. Vela and Letrero then checked into a hotel and called authorities.
Nagulat na lang kami na biglang kumbaga nabulaga ako ba't ako nasa bayan ng Sulu.
Interior Secretary Mar Rojas says the details surrounding the release remain unclear, but adds the two will undergo a debriefing. Sitting in a wheelchair, Vela says they were guarded by about 400 Abu Sayyaf members whom he says treated them well.
Mahusay ang alaga sa amin, ni Kurot, hindi kami sinaktan. Yung kung anong kinakain nila, kakainin namin. Kung anong gusto namin kainin na prutas, pwede kaming kumuha sa magpapaalam lang kami sa kanila.
Vela and Letreto were kidnapped in June 2012 together with Jordanian journalist Bakar Achani. The crew intended to interview the Abu Sayyaf, but they were prevented from leaving the camp. Achani is still with the Abu Sayyaf group. Fierce fighting between members of the Moro National Liberation Front and the Abu Sayyaf subsides late Monday in Sulu. The death toll from both sides reaches nearly 40. MNLF Islamic Command Council Chief Habib Mujahab Hashim says about 20 MNLF members die in clashes with the Abu Sayyaf in the Paticul area. Hashim says 17 Abu Sayyaf members are also killed. The fighting began early Sunday or late Saturday night following the release of the two Filipinos you just saw in the jungles of Paticul. The World Bank says the Philippines needs to create 14.6 million jobs until 2016 to achieve inclusive and sustainable economic growth. In a statement Monday, World Bank Philippines Country Director Motoo Konishi says informal sector jobs in the Philippines and overseas employment opportunities are not enough to absorb the country's growing labor force. Motoo says 10 million Filipinos are either unemployed or underemployed. He adds that with 1.1 million Filipinos entering the labor force every year, a total of 14.6 million jobs need to be created until 2016. Motoo says agribusiness and agriculture must contribute more significantly to address joblessness and reduce poverty. The latest labor force survey of the National Statistics Office shows there are 7.2 million underemployed and 2.8 million unemployed Filipinos in October of 2012. The Commission on Elections tests the voting system for the country's second automated elections, but Saturday's mock polls see low voter turnout and counts that don't match. Paterno S. Maquel reports.
The COMELEC calls the mock elections a success, but the machine and manual counts don't match. A committee finds 15 discrepancies between the PICO's count and the manual audit. In a resolution, the COMELEC allows a margin of error of only 10 votes. Despite the contradicting results, COMELEC spokesman James Jimenez refuses to call the mock elections a failure. He says he wouldn't discount error on the part of auditors.
Kasi personally, again, may nakita nga kami kung saan yung balota, meron siyang markang alam namin na hindi babasahin ng makina, pero minark down ng auditor as a valid mark. There are other instances like that. Errors, people were working for more than 4 hours straight, so medyo yung iba sa kanila pagod na.
The Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting Chairman, Tita De Villa, heads the Random Manual Audit Committee. In a phone interview with Rappler, De Villa admits there will always be a mismatch between the automated count and the manual audit. She says they can never tally. It's really impossible. But as much as possible, what we wanted to do is to improve on the 2010 random manual audit. Aside from these discrepancies, the mock elections encounter some glitches. Ballot counting machines in UP reject the first free ballots. The COMELEC ends up using a backup machine. Few voters, however, join the mock elections. At UP, less than a fifth of registered voters participate. The turnout is also low at the Ponciano Bernardo High School in Crame, one of the two biggest precincts for the activity. There were very few voters here this morning, a measly 4% of the expected voter turnout at the Ponciano Bernardo High School in Crame. But as we can see here now, there are lots of voters arriving at 2 p.m. They were reportedly brought here by a vehicle by a barangay kagawad. It says a lot about a voting system that sometimes has to force or even pay its people to vote. But for voters who arrived, the mock elections trained them well for D-Day.
So kasi parang karapatin din naman namin na bumoto para sa kabataan din na so dahan-dahan na rin namin sinasanay yung sarili namin habang dumarating tayo sa edad na
Bakit matatakot? Hindi naman nakakatakot, tsaka marami naman tao. Mas madali nga ngayon nung araw, sinusulatan yung mga balota, ngayon, nilalagyan mo lang ng, kumbaga sinishadean mo lang yung mga bilog doon.
One thing this activity shows, getting the count right on May 13 will not depend entirely on the machines. It's also about the people who run it and the voting public. Paterno S. Rappler, Manila.
The Ombudsman declares suspended Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia and 5 other officials guilty of grave misconduct over the 2008 purchase of the Balili estate. The Ombudsman signs the 26-page decision on January 25. The case is based on the city government's irregular purchase of the 98.9 million peso property in Tinaan, Naga, Cebu. The Ombudsman says part of the property is submerged in water. It adds the provincial government at the time had no available funds for the purchase, diverting 50 million pesos from the province's site development and housing program to partly pay for the property. Garcia is currently serving a suspension over a different case investigated by the Interior Department and the Office of the President. She was suspended in December for grave abuse of power. The American Embassy says the U.S. government will pay the Philippines, quote, appropriate compensation for the grounding of its ship into Bataha Reef Natural Park. The amount of the compensation will be determined only after the vessel is fully pulled out and an extensive damage assessment of the reef is finalized. The U.S. government also plans to hold activities which will underscore its commitment to Bataha's recovery. The minesweeper ran aground on January 17th inside the protected area of the Marine Park. The vessel is waiting for the Coast Guard to approve the U.S. Navy's salvage plan of cutting the ship into pieces before transferring the sections to a barge in order to minimize further damage to the reef. Well, let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 5, Pakistani teen activist Malala Yousafzai is reported in stable condition at a British hospital Sunday after a 5-hour surgery to repair her skull. Doctors at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham attach a titanium plate and cochlear implant to partially restore hearing in Malala's left ear. The plate is needed to replace a section of her skull. The 15-year-old Malala was shot in the head and neck by Taliban gunmen in October last year because she publicly advocated education for Pakistani girls. Now a symbol of empowerment, Malala will remain hospitalized until she's well enough to be discharged. At number 7, farmers in the Philippines will soon be planting golden rice, a genetically modified crop to boost vitamin A levels, reduce blindness, and counter diseases. Golden rice was first developed in 1999. The Guardian says the crop's development is opposed by protesters who say, quote, its introduction in the developing world would make farmers dependent on Western industry. But scientists say it's a way to alleviate real health problems in the developing world. The crop is genetically modified to make beta-carotene, a key chemical used by the body to make vitamin A. At number 9, the White House on Saturday releases a photo of President Barack Obama shooting skeet in Camp David, the presidential retreat in Maryland. The photo backs up Obama's claim that he was a skeet shooter after critics questioned this in an interview where the president was asked whether he had fired a gun before. The photo shows Obama in jeans, wearing sunglasses, and firing a shotgun wedged against his left shoulder. Skeet shooting, or clay target shooting, originated early 20th century as a sport for hunters to practice their marksmanship. Obama is set to rally public support for his agenda to tighten gun laws. And at number 10, Beyonce's Super Bowl halftime performance on Sunday is winning raves for the 31-year-old singer. After using a recorded track when she sang at President Barack Obama's inauguration early this month, many wondered whether she would do the same in the much-anticipated football championship game. Instead, Beyonce gives an explosive performance that featured a reunion with her Destiny's Child bandmates at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. She begins with an a cappella version of Love in Top, followed by Crazy in Love and Halo. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. The Baltimore Ravens win Sports Spectacle Super Bowl 34-31 over the San Francisco 49ers. Joe Flacco throws 3 touchdown passes, and Jacoby Jones returns a kickoff 108 yards for a touchdown to spark the Ravens over the 49ers. Two-time Defensive Player of the Year Ray Lewis, who was involved in a murder controversy in 2000, ends his 17-year football career with a Super Bowl victory. Lewis played for the Ravens since entering the league. The National Football League championship match at the Louisiana Superdome was interrupted when the lights literally went out, a power outage that lasted for 35 minutes. The NFL says, quote, "Stadium authorities are investigating the cause of the power outage." The league promises to provide more information when available. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel, and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page, which crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories, as you can see here, that have gotten the most votes on their mood meter. If we take a look today, a story that's been number 1 for a while today, Philippines, the new Indonesia, talking about economic gains, 25% inspired, 75% happy. Today's story, the Ombudsman Junks Garcia appeal on Graph Raps, 54% happy, 35% sad. And the story that's gotten the most votes on the mood meter is peso to hit 37.50 in 2013. Varied reactions, 6% afraid, 29% angry, 10% sad, but 51% happy, contributing to the very green mood of the day. Well, that's Rappler's Newscast for today, Monday, February 4th, 2013. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.